Good morning. Today we have Kittu ready, back for his third session, and he will speak to us about the mother on education. Kittu, welcome.
School was started on the 2nd of December 1943. Right from day one, mother was involved, although she never came to the playground, but she was involved in training and teaching the youngsters in dramatics, in recitation. Secondly, she was in constant touch with almost all the teachers. At the same time, she was in touch with all the students also. Because then in those days we used to have Mother's Darshan 5 or 6 times a day. And she would intervene in her own gentle way, sometimes not so gentle, but she would definitely intervene, and she knew everything. 1946, 2nd December, that was the first time she came to the playground. She saw the physical education demonstration, and from then onwards she began to come quite regularly. And from 47 onwards, she was directly involved in the cultural program of December 2nd, which used to be held in the morning. She would guide, advise, and even train sometimes, right? She kept an overall eye. The place where all of us used to meet her all was in the playground. Because by the very fact that mother started playing tennis, almost the whole ashram decided that they must take part in physical education. Ladies who had never worn shorts in their lives, traditional women, all in one stroke gave up their old habits, put on shorts, including my mother. So it was a really difficult, real battle for them. Ultimately they all joined. At the beginning, the dress for the girls was long pajama-like dress with a shirt. Gradually she managed to persuade them to come into shorts, and gradually the whole movement started. But that playground was the area where she would meet everyone. Of course, there were other places where she would meet, and she would take an active part. But there were no regular classes taken by the mother in the playground. All classes started after 1950, after the passing away of Ashram. School was very informal. It was like a big family. The timings were fixed. But as I have said in one of my earlier talks, the whole of life in the ashram was centered around the mother. If the mother came down at 9:30 for blessings, we all go at 9:30. If she came at 9, we used to go at 9. If she came at 10, we used to go at 10. When she used to go to play table tennis or tennis, all ashramites would come so that she can have a little darshan of her. They would visit the tennis ground when she used to play. She started playing in 1948. After 1950, after Sri Aurobindo passed away, mother started classes. There were 2 classes known as the translation class from 5:30 to 6:30, where one book of Sri Aurobindo would be taken and mother would translate with everybody's help. Nalini, Amrita, Abul Bless, everybody used to go to that class. We youngsters were also invited, at least some of us. I was invited by the mother. I went 2 or 3 times. I was much more interested in basketball and other things, so I skipped those classes. There was a Wednesday class which started with a very small group. 6 persons, Tara, Jamur, Gauri, Parul, a few others, and Manoj, and Nalinida used to sit on one side, Devuda used to sit on the other side of the mother's chair. Pavitra was there. It started in a small way in the room, in the mother's room, but as the number began to increase, it came out into the open. She used to sit below the map, and then the number began to increase in a very big way. Normally she would read something from Sri Aurobindo's writing, and then there would be question-answer session. Normally very few people used to ask questions. The main people who asked questions was Tara, Manoj, Mrityunjay. He got a lot of scolding from the mother also. And sometimes mother would refer to Pavitrata, or even sometimes to Nalinida. Manoj was very active in asking questions, right? So during those classes, besides questions on the spiritual life, on yoga, hundreds of questions were asked of all types. And she spoke a lot about sports, about physical education, about attitudes, and about the school also. As I told you in the previous talks and today also, externally, purely externally, there was not too much difference between our approach to education and the world's approach to education. Fixed classes, everything was organized by the administration, timetable, examinations, etc., etc., etc. Mother had been continually telling, and I will read out a small passage here, which will introduce you to the concept that she was throwing about. Right? We are very close to Mother, all of us, including the senior teachers. No step was taken in changing the educational structure and the educational approach, despite our being so close to the mother and totally loyal and acceptable to her, right? So she writes here, I've taken this from the Entretien, Collected Works of the Mother. I have the intention of taking in hand the problem of education. I am preparing myself for it. It may take 2 years. But I have warned Pavitra that when I intervene and remold things, it may seem like a cyclone. People may feel that they can no longer stand on their legs. So many matters will get upset. There will be all-round bewilderment at first. But as a result of the cyclone, the wall will break down and the true light will burst in. I thought it fair to say beforehand that there will be a radical change. This, as far as I remember, was in 1956. And in the same conversation, I think, when she was asked, she said, the first thing that you must understand is that after a certain age, which she defined as the mental age of 14, because there are some who are mentally 14 at the age of 12, 10, there are some who are much later. The child must be left to decide what he wants to do in life. Education must be because he is interested. You are there to help him. If a child wants to remain ignorant, foolish, it is his business. We have no right. We teachers always want good students. It is not our business. Our business is to help them to become good human beings. So this was the idea. It is so contrary to the thinking of most of us at that time, and I think of the whole world at large even today. So now, in 1958 December, Mother stopped coming to the playground. she had some physical problems, so she stopped coming. And later on, till 1962, from 58 December to 62 April, she would come down for the balcony darshan. She would visit the playground on 4 or 5 days a year. I think that she would also go to the theatre for the December 1st program. But otherwise she remained generally upstairs. And I remember having read in one of Tara's books that sometime in that period, Tara asked Mother, that Mother, will you resume the classes again? And Tara writes that Mother got furious. I wasted my time there. These are not the exact words, you can see it, it's there in a book. Nobody asked any questions, nobody was interested, nobody did anything. She literally let herself go. Naturally, Tara was very hurt. She was almost weeping. Then Mother, of course, cajoled her and said, no, my child, I'm always with you and I'll help you whenever it is possible. Let us see if time comes, I will. Right? So why I'm saying this is, it is not Tara, it is all of us. We took her so much for granted that all those wonderful things that she has said did not register sufficiently deeply in us so that we can at least make an implementation in our lives. I'm including myself in that, let there be no hesitation on that. It is years later that I said, my God, Mother told us this so many years back. And today, after 25 years, I'm beginning to realize the importance and the value of it. So that is one of my deep sorrows, that having been with her for such a long time, we took her so lightly. There is another conversation, I think, in the classes, where somebody asked Mother that are we progressing as fast as we should or something like that. And Mother said, no, not at all. You see, if you are outside, if you wanted to look for a guru, you would have to travel all over the world to get one person who can help you. And to get an answer from that guru would be, you have to ask the same question so many times, might be. Here I am, available to you at any moment. You come and ask me any question, I answer, I never refuse to answer. But what do I see? That for you my conversations are like opening the window to let some light come in, or drinking a glass of water. If I had put pressure upon you, might be it would have been different, but that is not my way of doing things. I let the atmosphere work. So might be a day will come when an aspiration comes. Then going to the samadhi or offering a flower immediately takes a different meaning. And when that happens genuinely, then you will progress by leaps and bounds. But I do not want to use that method. All this just to show you that we were very lucky. At least I will say about myself that I was very lucky, but certainly not up to the mark. Well, in 1958, Kirit Bhai was appointed the registrar of the school. He was working in the press and he was suddenly called over. Before that, the school was organized remotely by Pavitra, who used to never come except to take certain classes, essentially by Shishidda. And Sunilda was not in the administration, but he was a very powerful guiding force. And he commanded a lot of respect as a teacher. And of course, Shishidda consulted many others. something called the higher course was started, but it was not formal. Because in 1951, when the convention was held, in which Shyama Prasad Mukherjee presided, but Mother came and opened the conference. There was a 3-day conference. And after that, it was decided to name the Ashram school as the Sri Aurobindo University Center. Later, because of certain legal problems, it was changed to Sri Aurobindo International Center of Education. Well, one thing I would like to tell you, one of the pillars of the school till the mid-1960s was a gentleman who is completely ignored. His name is D.V. Joshi, who is in charge of the laboratory. He used to work very closely with Pavitra. He used to work very closely with the administration and the whole structure. He has suffered a lot because of certain, I don't want to go into any detail. He will not talk. Many people have tried. He doesn't want to talk about those things. That chapter is closed. But I can tell you I have worked with him. He was my teacher of chemistry. He was sharp in his comments. Absolutely true. A wonderful organizer. Now, I was not a teacher at the beginning. In the early days, after the 50s, I used to go to Mother and tell her that in the holidays, I would like to do some work, 3 hours. So she used to always send me to the workshop. And the workshop was inside the ashram, just beside that building. I mean, the place where you keep the cars, that long place where Chom sits, that was the workshop. Pavitra used to come down every day, and I used to go there and lathe and all that. I was hopeless with my handwork even today, right? That is deliberately why I think Mother sent me. 1955, Gautam Chawla put up an exhibition in Golconda on the things that Mother had used in Japan. A 2-room exhibition, and I was a very close friend of his. So I worked very hard with him. It was a wonderful period in time. And on the 15th of August, Mother came to see the exhibition into Golconda, and then she went to Gautam's room, which was on the top floor, room number 3. So while coming out from there, she looked across and she saw that house where Parikshit lives now. It was a 1-story building, a lot of cracks on the terrace. From there she noticed. I heard her commenting. September end or October, she called me and said, that house has to be broken. You will have to rebuild it. So myself, Mona and Visheshwar, Mother picked the 3 of us up. Said, you will have to do all the work. So we broke the whole building. Since I was good in mathematics, I had to learn a little bit of structural engineering, calculating the things and all that. Alan used to help us. At that time Alan was here, but Alan was a crackpot. I mean, he would plan something, start something, then change the plan, break and start all over again. All kinds of whimsical things. Then he went to Lake. So I continued working with Vishwanatha. We started this work in 55 November.
This was Louis Allen? You say Allen.
No, myself, Mona and Visheshwar.
Which Allen?
Louis. The famous Allen of
Okay.
Lake Estate, right? So we worked till 1957, April 24th. It was mad work, especially the last 6 months, day and night. We did plastering, we did bricklaying, we did the mosaic laying, we did everything. And since I was good in mathematics, I also did a little bit of the engineering part. On the 24th April 1957, we asked Mother to come. She came. Many boys helped us, but since Mona, myself and Shishwa thought that to invite all of them would be a big problem, so only 3 of us came and a few others. Mother saw the whole thing and she was very happy. She blessed us. Then I was told to work in the Vishwanatha's department because I had already learned a little bit of civil engineering. Now it so happened that I had gone to Lake in 1957 November, and all of a sudden Joshibai asked me, then why don't you teach? You are a good student. I said, yes, I don't mind. So they gave me one class of mathematics at the primary level with the approval of Vishwanatha. So I used to work mainly in the drawing office and then 4 periods in the school at the primary level. 58, Kirit Bhai became the registrar. He completely overhauled the system. He made it precise, organized. He set up the board of studies for every subject, English, French. He got a group, made them in charge. He created a syllabus for all the subjects, which could be changed by the board of studies. He created an examination system. They were known as quarterly exams in the secondary and the higher course from 1958 onwards. 3 exams for 2 weeks. Monday, March, in the month of March, Monday 8 to 11 English, Tuesday 8 to 11 French, Wednesday 8 to 11 mathematics, and so on and so forth. Now one day when I was walking for soup after my class, Kirit Bhai came and told me that I want you to work in my office. But that is not for me to decide, you have to ask Mother. So next day Kirit Bhai called me and said, we have spoken to Mother, Mother has approved. So I told Vishwanatha that I am working now full time in the school. Vishwanatha got furious. He said, look, it is not my choice. Mother told me, so I am going. But he didn't talk to me for 6 months. Anyway, I joined. We are just 4 persons in the office. Kirit Bhai, Joshi Bhai, Mohini Ben, and myself. And Dawood, you know Dawood, he used to stay in Golconda. He is a Persian. Whenever he used to come, he used to stay for, and at that time he stayed for a long time. He used to work with us. And gradually a few others. So I had to do typing, one finger typing. Not all good. Mohini Ben would do the typing, Kirit Bhai would do the typing, and he had made a big organization. I was made in charge of the examinations, which meant that I had to get the question papers typed for all the classes in total secrecy. I had to fix up the rooms where they will all sit with the invigilators. After the exams were over, I had to collect the answer papers and give it back to the teachers. The teachers would make their marks, corrections, etc. and then we would enter it into a form. There was a notebook called a progress report, and Kirit Bhai said 30% quarterly test, 20% class test, 20% these are absolutely formal like outside. And Mother never came in the way. Mother supported it. Whatever you might say, I think that he brought in a structure. And one of the greatest contributions was that our course was very well organized. And he said that when somebody wants to study a book of Sri Aurobindo, he should be prepared. So if you want to study human cycle, you must know something of sociology. If you want to know synthesis of yoga, you must have studied something of religions. If you want to understand life divine, you must have something of Indian philosophy and Western philosophy. When you are prepared, you went to Sri Aurobindo's works. Today they come, they know nothing. Not even the faintest idea of what sociology means. They plunge into the human cycle. It takes a few months to get them even in the line.
Kittu, I want to ask just where does the mother's letter come in all of this time frame?
I'll tell you, not yet come to the point.
No, the first letter you read.
No, the first letter was in 1956. This is not a letter. This is part of a conversation that she had in the playground, in which she said, I will intervene, it will be like a cyclone.
But she didn't intervene
She
still
didn't
at
intervene.
this
She
point.
said it will take 2 years or more. Now, some interesting thing happened. Tanmaya had come to Pondicherry. He was a journalist in Vietnam. He came, and very soon, within a year, he became a teacher. He was a very good teacher. But he felt that what mother wanted and what we are doing are very different. So he spoke to Pavitra, and Pavitra also agreed. And I can tell you which passage, beside all the talks of the mother, in the 3rd chapter of the Human Cycle, the last but one paragraph, where Sri Aurobindo speaks about subjectivism, that the approach to education also must be subjective. You must take into account the child, his nature, his temperament, and ultimately if you can help the child to bring his psychic being forward, your problem is over. He will take the full responsibility of education. Now this is what inspired Tanmaya Pavitra. And I must say that this whole movement was started not by Indians but by foreigners. Tanmaya, Padma, she was a Swiss lady, he was very close to her. Yvonne, right? Well, they had the guts, they had the courage. What they did was certainly not very successful, but they had the vision. And the interesting thing is that when Tanmaya started this thing in a very small scale, mother supported him wholeheartedly. Despite most of us, almost all of us, feeling that what he was doing was very foolish and wrong. Now, you see, what did he base himself on? He says every child is a soul. If you can tap that, the problem is over. Now, he didn't know that the soul doesn't emerge very fast. It takes a lot of time, and until then, many things can go wrong. But he had full trust, full confidence. So it was a huge risk that he took, that he tried out in certain areas. And I think I told you that in one of my classes, in the next room, one teacher would sit, said knowledge by silence with eyes closed. The students would come out of the class, play football, and misuse their time. I had to scold them and send them back. However, in 1962, after a lot of discussion between Pavitra, Tanmaya, mother, Kirit Bhai, Joshi Bhai, it was decided that we should venture into this. Now, venturing into a free progress, where the soul will be in front, is a rather difficult endeavor. And for us human beings, it's very difficult. So, it was told to mother that, mother, how do we decide who should be in the free system and who should not be? You can see the child's soul. So sometime in 62, November, mother decided that she will stand in Pavitra's room, and Kirit Bhai asked me to organize every day or every week, twice or thrice, we would send 30 children who would pass in front of her. Tanmaya would be sitting beside and noting down mother's comments. And out of 150 or 155, she found everyone suitable or has the potential, except one about whom she said later. I'll give you the name. His name is Lal Babu. Yesterday I met Lal Babu, and I asked him point blank that when you were not selected by the mother, did you feel hurt? He says, no, I felt grateful. For Lal Babu, 5 separate teachers were selected to teach him. because he had to go through the course. Right? So this was introduced in 1962 December. And the pillar was this: as few collective classes as possible. Because each soul's need is different. In a collective class, I am addressing all the same way. Number two, the child should not be given the full textbook, 250 pages. It distracts him, it frightens him. So textbooks were torn, mathematics books were torn, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, given one at a time. You study by yourself, and when you need help, we will be there. Thirdly, especially in art subjects, English, history, geography, textbooks are not always up to the mark. Therefore, teachers have to prepare worksheets. A wonderful worksheet we have prepared. Amita Di, Kirit Bhai, not too many by me, but some, Mohini Ben. Lovely worksheets. Aspects of history, aspects of geography, which you don't find. At that time there was no internet, so it was really hard work. And then it was launched. All of us agreed because mother was behind it. Psychologically, at least, I was not ready. And everything that happened on the surface proved that my fears were right. There was total indiscipline in the school. Unbelievable indiscipline. So after 3-4 months, all of us were grumbling. But mother was supporting it. Now what do you do? So I said, look, I told myself that this is not a happy situation. I will write mother everything. But I will not write what I feel, I will write what I know. I must find out. So I took the trouble of meeting almost every teacher in the free system and asked him for giving me a report. For a whole notebook, I prepared all the reports. And the summary of the report was this, that out of 154 students, 4 are good, 3 are very good, 28 are average, all the rest wasting their time. Playing the fool, indiscipline, this, that. So I wrote a long letter, which I sent to you, right? And I placed the disorder in 3 headings: indiscipline, irregularity, and consequently poor work done by students. And I gave details: mathematics, physics, chemistry, history, geography, and everywhere very, very disappointing results. So I wrote to mother that we feel that we should have fixed periods, that we should not have only worksheet, but we should have also textbooks. And 12 teachers signed. Arati, Chanda, Manoj, Paru, Mukul, Norman, Bhavatarani, Sudha, Amita, Jhumur, Priti, and myself last, Kittu. I needed this because I was not sure how mother would react. So I took all the precautions and all of them agreed, otherwise they wouldn't have signed. I'll just read a little bit of what the mother said. Pour les professeurs d'abord, je dis que je suis satisfaite des chiffres que le rapport indique. I am satisfied with the figures that your report indicates. In spite of all that you think, the proportion of good students is very good. It's satisfactory. If out of 150 students, there are 7 personalities of value, it's very good. The majority of classes may be reorganized in such a way that it responds to the needs of the majority. That means those who cannot study without external pressure impose discipline. But it is essential that the present free system must continue. You must know, you must not hesitate that our school has been created to encourage and to help those who are ready to discover their inner being and move along, right? The exact words I will not give you. And then she made a few more comments, which I will send the whole thing to you, right? This was dictated, so it was typed, sent to her, and then she added her own note, in which she said that just as we are organizing...
In her own handwriting.
Oh, here it is.
Can you hold it up?
The idea is this, that just as we organize the school for getting the good students, we must also organize to get these elite teachers. And she says, I ask all of you to consider your work as the best means by which you can make progress in yoga, and every difficult student should be an occasion to find a divine solution to the problem. And this was absolutely magnificent. So this was in 62, August 5th August 1963. School was reorganized. Old section and the new section. New section in charge, Tanmaida. Old section, secondary, was like everywhere else, but Manoj was made in charge. And everything was there, fixed classes, everybody went to their different rooms, there were examinations, etc., etc. But during their free periods, they would all be sitting in one hall, where 3 teachers were sitting available, and if they needed consultation or anything, they could come there. They were not allowed to go elsewhere, they had to stay in the room, both morning and afternoon. It was a step forward, but it was not quite what the mother wanted. Well, we continued like this, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. I was in charge of all the examinations. Very hard work. Question papers in secrecy, getting them typed, keeping them all locked up, giving them to the people at the right time, fixing the timetable, getting the papers, correcting, writing down the records. Very detailed work. I didn't feel comfortable. It was all right. I was not critical of anybody, but I was not comfortable. Mother didn't seem to be happy. That is what I felt. Now, during the examination, something very interesting happened. 1967 July. I was invigilating in the Hall of Harmony. At that time it was smaller. And I was walking up and down, and when I was coming back from the other side, the student's back, I saw a student copying, pulled out his notebook and writing. 15 minutes were left, but he was writing. I just went and tapped him, didn't speak a word. He started shaking. Didn't tell him anything afterwards. Came back and wrote a letter to mother. Mother, this thing has started. I do not know what I should do. Should I put policemen? Should I take strong steps? I would like to know what are the root causes. Immediately mother sent me a letter. The root causes are the motive of education is wrong. They are interested in making a figure of themselves, and they will find any method by which they can, pretend and show. In front of the divine, one drop of sincerity is better than an ocean of hypocrisy, etc., etc. I'll send all those letters to you. Then another letter. I'll tell you a personal incident, which is there in Sapren's Arunda, 1967. I've got it, I forgot to bring it. I'll send it to you. When mother saw my letter, she closed her eyes and said, I do not think that the boy cheated. I have seen it with my own eyes. Okay, mother says so, it must be so. Went straight to that boy and said, because by that time you had come to know, This is mother's reaction. She says that you have not cheated. So evidently I have made a mistake in my judgment. The boy began to spread all kinds of things about me. Mother is very angry, this, that. Next day, mother tells Supreme that I saw the reaction, what is happening in the school, very, I don't remember the word. I saw the reaction. This young man called K, he saw with his own eyes something. Because I said no, immediately went and expressed his regret. It proves the nobility of his soul. The boy has character, something like that. I'll show you the exact passage, right? And I was thinking of sending a slap to that boy who took advantage of Kittu. But then I held myself back because that would have been his end almost, right? Very strong language he used. I will send that to you. I've got it. I've separately typed it out. Supreme told me. Then later on I have myself heard the recorded voice and also that. But what happened after that was, many students also wrote to mother that the nervous tension is enormous. Examinations, 2 weeks, tense, prepared. It became like outside. Day and night working, right? And mother was very uncomfortable. Kishore Gandhi wrote a letter. Mother replied to that. I sent another letter where a student had torn 200 pages from a book and taken it to the examination center. Everything went wrong. So I felt uncomfortable. And Amita and myself, we decided that we have to do something. We'll write to mother again. So in 1967, Amita and myself wrote a letter in which broadly we said that the last 6 months we have received a lot of letters from you. We feel that we are not going exactly the way you would like to, although some teachers have started something in the lower classes. What we are proposing is that all the classes are fixed. We will make fixed classes only in the afternoon, and in the morning there will be free classes. So we are still making a combination, not complete freedom, not complete fixity. And then in this way every student will meet the teacher, and whenever he wants to meet separately because he wants to meet 10 of them, he just informs, and whenever it is needed we have a meeting. This is a broad idea. And also we said that now there is a division between the old system and the new system. It was called in the school India and Pakistan. India was the free system led by Tanmaya, and this side we all were the old system. Very unhappy division. So I wrote to mother that we feel that this division should disappear. So mother wrote back, it will be infinitely desirable if this division disappears immediately. The efficacy of what you have proposed will be seen by trial. It might take 1 year, it might take 3 months, and with sincerity and suppleness you can come to the answer. Here is the letter. You would like to see it?
Yes.
Fingers.
So, mother had to give a name. At that time, mother had given names to the different sections. The flower room was called Avanir, future. The primary classes were called Progre. Krishna Kumari was in charge of Progre. In the secondary, there was the old system and the new system. Mother called the new system Vers la Perfection. Ours had no name. It was called En Avant, forward. And so a new section was created. I was made in charge. And mother called me. I wrote this letter on the 5th. Mother answered on the 5th, 6th. On the 11th, on the 9th, Pavitra called me and said, Mother wants to meet you with Tanmay and Arati. She will discuss the school about the school and about your letter. So we are told 11 o'clock. It was Mona's birthday. But Mother said, no, come at 10:30 because that part is over. So from 10:30 to 12, we had a detailed discussion with the mother, during which this whole episode of Sanskrit came up, right? Where she was asking what are the languages that you teach. We said all the mother tongue of the children here. So she said that's a lot, Bengali, Gujarati, Hindi. And then I added a word, Sanskrit. She said, oh, Sanskrit. Sat quietly for a few seconds and then she spoke for the next 20 minutes. 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I don't know, but in which she said that Sanskrit should be the national language of India. I would like every student and if possible every ashramite to be able to talk Sanskrit. Not good Sanskrit, not erudite Sanskrit, but like every Frenchman talks French. Similarly, every Indian should talk Sanskrit. I would like it to become the national language of India. All that is tape recorded and there you can all see it, right? So then in 1967, and when everything was getting ready to start the school, Mother sent a big piece of paper, in fact 4 pieces of paper, 1 piece of paper, Progre, Krishna Kumari, Anava, Kittu, I don't know any other paper, because higher course there was nobody in charge as such, at that time still. The paper seems to have disappeared. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I was made in charge. Tanmay did not want to join the 2 sections together. He told Mother and Mother kept quiet. Next year he agreed. So I took charge along with Amitadi. We created the present structure in which the 6 systems have come, right? The 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then within a year or within 2 years, I really did not have much control over things that were happening. Many things happened which I don't want to elaborate. But that is how things developed. In 67, in a teachers' meeting in the Hall of Harmony, a proposal was made, I don't remember by whom, that since Mother is so keen on these things, why do we have to have a fixed system in the higher course also? So after some discussion over 2 or 3 meetings, it was decided that we will allow these students to choose their teachers, to choose their subjects, and to choose their timetable. The system which is going on today. It was a radical departure. And Mother approved of it and said that it has to be tried out, we will see how it works, right? But she was behind it. In a certain sense, it was really a cyclone compared to the old things, right? So from that point of view, huge changes took place. The question was now who is to be in charge of this new system that is there. So after a certain internal discussion in which I was present, but I didn't take part, Kirit Bhai proposed the name of Jugalda. And Mother sent that note to, Kirit sent that note to Mother. Mother approved of it, and then he took over. It has evolved gradually. He also at the beginning made some trials and errors, but ultimately he took over completely and he has done a fairly good job. I am not at all totally disappointed. Anyway, I don't want to go into other details except to say that towards the end of his life, he was very, very unhappy with what was going on in the higher course. He has told me personally. He wanted to leave many times. But anyway, he got involved in an accident and automatically withdrew. So this is a very important part of the school history, right? And I believe that these 2 letters, there is a 3rd letter which I have got, which I will show you also at a certain stage, are very important for the future development of the school. Because free progress cannot be given to everybody. There are people who are absolutely unworthy of freedom because they are not yet ready. And we will be doing a great service to them by keeping a close watch on them. Not military watch, but a gentle pressure. Not letting them go the way they want to. And helping them to become gradually better human beings. And when they are ready for that, then they should be given the free progress. But no human being can pretend that he will not make mistakes using his freedom. He is bound to make mistakes, sometimes consciously, sometimes semi-consciously. But as Mother says in somewhere in our talks, that one learns very much if one is sincere from one's own mistakes. As long as the mistake is not suicidal or harmful to others, one should allow a certain amount of freedom, trial and error, till the child discovers, if not his soul, at least his higher mind, by which he can guide and control himself. So this was one of the things that has taken place.